And we are live with Chey and Pav.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you guys?
We're good.
The adrenaline rush is dying down from the radio, and then we're going to dial it back up for the podcast.
As you can tell, we haven't fully unwinded yet.
I had 3 scoops of pre-workout. That's how I get my mental edge.
That'll do something for you. I don't know what, but you're going to get the neurons firing like crazy. Oh, that's awesome. So I know a lot of people know who you are and know what you're about, but I just want to kind of quickly run through. You started off as teachers, and you guys have already had a long, successful teaching career, and you're still going as teachers, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So I've been trying for years to get rid of me, but I won't go.
Excellent. So you went from teaching and you started a podcast, which I think a lot of people might have that idea like, oh, it would be cool. And you don't get many people that really follow through on it. And not only have you guys done that, you've really made it a passion. I mean, it's not just like a rinky-dink put together last-minute podcast. You guys put time, effort, care into it. It's very clear. What made you guys make that jump from, hey, we're teaching, we're happy with what we're doing, to, you know what, we could have a larger influence. We could do something a little more.
So yeah, when we did get started, it was not quite with the intent to develop this massive, this podcast the way to what it's become today. So we got started basically in a simple way, just to share our thoughts and ideas about the things that we go through on a daily basis. But partly the adrenaline rush that comes with, developing the episode every week, and then having so much to talk about, but then also the feedback that we got back from people who had started listening to us saying, this is great. We love the idea of 2 teachers just talking about teaching on, in a live sort of way as it's happening. And we just thought, this is great. And we're having a lot of fun with it. And we wanted to get better and better and better. And, a lot of developing came from the side as well. We learned so much along the way. And we just continue to build because we love doing it and we love the feedback that we get. Yeah. And it drives us to keep going forward and build on what we're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our original plan was actually we'll do it once a month, and we never stuck to that plan because, as you said, once we did the first episode, the adrenaline rush, and people saying, we really enjoyed that. It was kind of fun. And of course, the first time you do a podcast, the people that listen are the people the people that are curious. You haven't really built anyone that doesn't know you. And so we got good sort of positive feedback to start, and then we were really excited. So okay, let's do every week. And then after a few weeks of doing one a week, we said, you know what, it's taking too long to wait another week. Let's do our little interlude episode. So we basically do one full episode and then the one interlude. And then your grind gets noticed by people. People appreciate and they see when you're working really hard. So then we had Voice Ed Radio come and say, we'd love to bring your podcast here. We love your personalities. We love your energy. We'd love to give you another show. And so sort of that relentless grind. You're just working hard. The adrenaline's really good, but people notice, people see, whether you think they see. And then when you think making that connection back to being a teacher, people see what you do and they respond to what you do, whether it's a direct or if they're just watching from afar.
Yeah.
Chey, that's a great point. I mean, when you even think about how I got connected with you guys, here I am in the southernmost part of the United States in Florida, listening to you guys way up in the north in Toronto. And to be connected, for me, all the way down here to say, wow, look at their drive, look at their hustle, look at their work ethic. They're not just taking this halfway, they are all in. It's nice when you start to get that recognition, from all over. So one thing I'm wondering about is, before you get that kind of reputation, how do you stick with that motivation? How do you keep that going, not really knowing where you are in the journey yet?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it's a roller coaster. It's a bit of a ride.
It's peaks. Yeah. We have real peaks. We have real highs, and you have real lows. Or say, I sort of cut you off, Pav, but that's what I would do. I'm a professional educator.
We know this already.
There's lots of valley because maybe you'll put out an episode and it doesn't like you can have one week where your episode just skyrockets and you feel great.
Yeah.
Then you have another week and you can't get as many listeners and you're just sort of down. Or you have great content and you feel like you had great energy on the podcast, and then you record and you're like, oh, did we miss that? Did we have our A game? So we have certainly found that our emotions are really up and down, much more than we're used to dealing with.
Yeah.
But the journey is learning to deal with that, learning to appreciate that there are lots of ups and downs, highs and lows with the podcast, and then everything goes with the growth, whether it be your radio show, whether it's our Education Never Dies chat. Do you have a lot of participants? Do you not? So certainly
it gets quite overwhelming. I mean, you know, like as Chey says, the highs are super high, but then when you hit those lows, it's tough. And it definitely helps to have two of us, because, you know, if I'm having a moment where it's like, I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know if what we're doing is really resonating with people. And then you have that other person to just be like, no, we're doing great. We have to keep going. We push each other quite a bit. And that's definitely something that's helped, because if we were doing this on our own, I don't think that it would have lasted this long. And I don't think that we would have pushed each other to move forward. So, you know, as much as we work so well together as a team, we push each other, we drive each other as well, because I'm not gonna stop because you're having a bad day. I'd rather help you through your bad day. And then we get through it together. So that team aspect has really, really helped to pump us up and to push us and to drive us. We really drive this together. There's no one person that solely, you know, takes the lead on this is what we're doing. We get each other through it. So that's been big too.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that's huge, having that accountability and having somebody to validate if you're doing a good job, or being able to tell you if you're not. You know, everything I've done with Academic Mindset, I've done with my wife. So, you know, right now she's got the baby in another room, so we don't have all that craziness going on, but it's good crazy. But, you know, we're always feeding off each other, and it's really helpful because there are those peaks and those valleys, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm in a valley and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm putting out great content and nobody's responding.
Right.
I've got someone here that will give me that honest feedback. Like, hey, this is great content. Maybe we need to work on how we're marketing it. Or maybe this isn't so great. Let's sharpen it up.
Yeah.
And having that support constantly is huge. So one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, I'm so curious because I keep seeing Chey with a different invented weight of some kind, or, you know, some new workout. So, you know, here we are, we're all trapped in quarantine, and a lot of people are having trouble dealing. And one thing that we know is that, you know, your physical health and your emotional health are very well connected. So talk to me a little bit about how you guys are staying physically fit and what that means to you as far as your mentality.
Do you want to start, or should I start?
Have I ever been allowed to start in the Chey and Pav dynamic?
No, you can stay quiet. You got the finishing move. So yeah, that's been a tough one. Trying to work through it. The weather outside is still a little bit nippy up here. So getting outside you're not as motivated because it's still a little cold, but I've really had to vary up my workouts at home. So, you know, I have a kettlebell program that I'm doing. I also have some weights, and so I try to vary that up. I've got an exercise bike. So I try to change it up every day, because doing the same thing every day, that gets boring. Sometimes I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook while I'm working out. Sometimes I'm watching a show on Netflix while I work out. And then sometimes I'm just, you know, following along. I do Muay Thai regularly. And so now we've got online Muay Thai classes going on. And so I tune into the online class, which is nice because it's a Zoom class. So my instructor, who normally kicks my butt in person, is still able to kick my butt on the virtual world, because he can see me and he can see that my push-ups are not going all the way to the ground. So he calls me out in front of everybody. So, you know, that's also great. It's motivating. So varying it up, that really helps for me to change it up. I can't do the same workout every day because it gets boring. I lose the motivation. So I change it up. I take the kids out. We go for walks. We go play soccer in the open field, you know, where there's not a lot of people around, and things like that. We just change it up, do something different every day. Not as inventive as this guy, though.
Yeah, he's like the MacGyver of weightlifting.
If you want to keep those gains going, you got to make these adjustments. I, on the other hand, I thrive on the consistency. I like sort of a very similar style workout so that when I get started, I sort of have a sense of where I'm going to go. I'm lucky enough in this remote world that I have, I have a spinning bike, and then I had enough bits and pieces that I got the one curl bar, and then I had the one long bar, and I went looking through my winter tires, and I put those on with a few plates as washers. So it's got a good amount of weight. And then, of course, then I used an app to find, some good exercises with the free weights, because typically I don't really free weight because I'm not a young man. I'm 45. Everything's got to be controlled to make sure. Everything's got to be controlled to make sure I don't get hurt. I'm fragile. And then I also have a hitting tee in my backyard that everyone always used to make fun of because it's like buried in bushes. But I was like, hey, at some point you're going to wish you have a tee in your backyard. And so now I bike for 15, 20 minutes. I will do a variety of those little exercises with a lot of push-ups and sit-ups now that I hadn't done as much of. And then I use sort of those homemade weights. And then I always end up on the tee. Got to hit 100 baseballs into that tee. Drives the neighbors nervous. They're always nervous. But I remind them, I'm not going yard right now. I'll keep them all in the net for you kiddies.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully.
I've had a few. You just listen. You just listen for the ball. And as long as you don't hear a big smash, you're fine. I'll walk around the street with my daughters to get it.
And worst case scenario, Pav's been practicing her Muay Thai. You guys will be okay.
Yes. We can handle it.
So we have a lot of teachers out there. We have a lot of students out there. And they're all kind of wondering, how do we make this big adjustment, right? And one thing I heard you talking about earlier today is, we've got this big technology learning curve. And in some places, you have a lot of teachers who aren't really that familiar with technology yet and haven't really been incorporating it, which, again, it's not a bad thing. There are a lot of great teachers who can teach with a chalkboard and do amazing things, right? But now that we have this new technology learning curve and we didn't have time to practice. We had to, get thrown into it. What do you say to those teachers who might be struggling with it? What do you say to the people, even students, who are like, I don't even know how to log into this stuff yet, and I'm troubling? What can we do as far as our mindset to stay focused on what we can control?
So
that's cute. That's cute that you offered it to me first.
Just saying.
It makes it polite, for sure.
We take things as they come, day by day. And so this is something that has come up with us, with our students and with our staff, with our colleagues. And, I like to think of it as an opportunity to offer as much support as possible. So, everybody, a lot of empathy that's involved here. So I don't ever feel like, okay, I've got too much of my own stuff going on and I don't have the time to really help you. I do my best to offer as much support as possible to students, to parents, to colleagues. And I think everybody is sort of in that same boat. I might feel a little bit more comfortable with technology. I've been using it for quite some time in my classroom. So the simple questions that come up, just help people out, understand that everybody's coming from a different perspective. Everybody understands things a little bit differently. There are fantastic teachers, as you mentioned, that don't use as much technology in their classrooms, and that's perfectly okay. As long as we all understand that we're on this learning curve together, help out where you can. I might need some help coming up with fun ideas, but then I can help you integrate them with technology. So we work together. We've developed a team, with the teachers that we work with, the intermediate teachers, and we work on things together. We don't need to reinvent stuff. We don't have to create new all the time. We can use what we're doing and we can work together to help our students to meet us and us meet them where they are. So that's really been working with us.
Yeah, collaboration and empathy is huge.
Yes.
Yes. And I find that the first instinct is to overwhelm people with resources. Oh, you can't do this? Boom, 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 boom. I'll give you tons of resources. I find I don't need a ton of resources. What's really important, even if I don't even need the best resource. If you give me one resource and say I give Pav a resource, but I know how to use it, and I don't just give it to you and walk away.
Right.
I'm going to give you a resource, and then by giving you the resource, I want to commit to the support. So I'm there to help you set it up. I'm there as you guide through, and I'm there at the end point. That's one of the things that I always find as a leader is it's really not about what I give you. It's about, am I going to stick for the journey? Right. And so I find we rush to give tons of resources, but I don't need a ton of resources. I just want you to give me one resource, or I want to support with one resource, and I know that you know how to use it well, and I know that every time I have a question, you'll be able to answer it, or I know that that person's going to come back and do check-ins with me, the same way we would with our students. So I think one of the main ways to provide support is to be simple, be very specific, and then realize just giving the resource, that's not the support. The support is the continual comeback, check-ins, and being there along the journey.
Right.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. I mean, one of the acronyms I always remember is KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. And we kind of ran into that problem with my school district at first too, is, you know, when this first happened, they said, go communicate with your students, Skype, Zoom, anything, find a way. And, you know, our students were being bombarded with all this different technology. They didn't know where to connect.
Yeah.
So then we had to slow down and say, wait, let's pick one. Doesn't have to be the best one, but it's going to be the one that we all use, you know, simple platform. Make sure that all students understand this is where we're coming from. This is how we're connecting. Much easier, right? So maybe in 20 years, we've evaluated the different techs, but yeah, we can't overwhelm people right now, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, keeping it simple, collaborating, and I love, too, what you both really said about support, right? Even if we only throw one resource, if you're not providing that constant support, you might be missing out on something really big. So it's important to really stick with it and commit 100%.
Right.
So I want to wrap this up here. I don't want to take too much of your time, as much fun as this is, though. So do you have any last thoughts just about how to remain positive and how to keep going forward? Because, you know, one thing that I really admire about both of you is no matter what's going on, you seem to be moving forward. You know, you're always looking that, you know, that single direction. We want to keep improving. We want to keep growing no matter what's going on in the world. What could you say to encourage people to take up that kind of attitude?
I think I'll take it back to our radio show this morning. Our theme was, you know, the road trip or the journey, and understanding that the challenges that we are facing are all part of that journey to help us move forward. And like you said, you know, we've got this vision that's in the end, sort of like our why. This is what we're doing. We're doing this for a particular reason, and we keep that thought in our sights, in our vision, and in front of us. And we understand that every twist and turn that we're going to experience along the way is helping us to get to that point in the end point. It's part of the journey. So the struggles that we experience, the challenges that we're going through, we are growing through them. We are learning through them. And so we have to embrace them, you know, take it as an opportunity to say, okay, that didn't work very well, but I still know where I'm headed. This is where I want to go. This is still point B. And so I'm going to take that rather than think of it as a hindrance or something to stop me from getting to the end point. I just have to now find that detour and work my way towards that end point and enjoy the journey for everything that it's worth along the way.
Excellent.
Pardon my positivity. And that doesn't it doesn't mean ignoring the things that go wrong. I think often being in the Twitterverse, which really is just, it's the Twitterverse. People love, you say positive, oh, you're positive. Calm yourself.
How dare you?
I'm positive, but that doesn't mean I'm just ignoring everything around me. It means I'm still realizing I'm going to have issues. I got things I have to work through. That's part of the journey, but I understand I can take it on with a positive mindset. Yeah, I'm going to have my downer days. I can still be a positive person and have that moment where I don't feel really good because I know I'm going to bring myself back. So
I love that.
Pardon my positivity doesn't mean that I'm always going to be happy. Just means I'm in a place of joy, and I understand part of happy, part of joyfulness is understanding I'm going to have those moments where I don't feel really good, but I just keep on going. I just make it work. I find a way to work. And if I can't make it work, it's okay to ask someone to support me to make it work. So pardon my positivity. I'm going to keep being positive. And that might mean I have a bad day, a tough emotion. But I'm still going to, on the overall scheme of things, I'm going to keep it positive. It's sort of like my bank investments, but I'm a teacher, so I have no
Yeah.
investments. As they rise,
Your dream investments. Yeah.
they're still going up and down as they rise up. So I'm going to maintain my positivity, but that doesn't mean I'm blindfold to issues, and it doesn't mean that I think that I can't go through bad times and bad moments. It's an overall mindset that's, pardon my positivity.
Man, that's awesome advice. I think everybody could use to remember that, like, even on a bad day, that doesn't mean you're not a positive person, doesn't mean that you're not going to pull through it. And it's okay to recognize this isn't my best day, this isn't my best moment, but that day is coming. And I'm still working towards that, and I'm still building, right? All right, so thank you, Chey and Pav, for joining us in. If you want to catch more of Chey and Pav, you can see them on the Staff Room podcast. I believe anywhere that you can find a podcast.
Yep.
You can catch their live radio show, The Drive, with Chey and Pav. Really fun listen. You guys got to check them out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun with you guys.
Thank you, Kevin. Been great to connect.
All right, take care, y'all.
Bye.
Take care.